Alrighty, hello everyone. Welcome to our next On the Mic with Make. Who I have with me here today is Randy Dojutrek. Did I say it right, Randy?
Nope, that's okay. Nobody says it right.
Oh man, All right. Well, I have Randy with us today. I did practice before this. I'm so sorry. But
My kids don't even get it right, so.
takes a little bit. It's a tough last name, but we have Randy here with us. Randy is a longtime friend of Make Corporation, and he actually works at HCFC Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois. As we all know, Blue Cross Blue Shield is one of Make Corporation's clients. So, Randy, take it away. Take the floor. Tell me a little bit about what you do with HCSC. I know you have a lot of responsibilities with there, and your title does not do you justice to exactly what you do with HCSC.
Well, actually, my title, Executive Director of the Development Center Strategy Office, really means anything that comes up that nobody else wants to do or can do in some regards. So it's pretty broad, although we like to think that my main focus is long-term strategy for both technology and the workforce.
Very cool, very cool. And so, tell me a little bit about the company HCSC, and what is really the most interesting about your role as the executive director.
Sure, HCSC is really, when I tell people I work for HCSC, they say, well, what's that? But when I tell them I work for Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois, all of a sudden everybody knows, obviously. So we actually have 5 plans. We're Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois, Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, and Montana. And we're, one among the top insurers in the country, and we're the largest non-for-profit insurer in the company. So that really makes us put our focus on the member more than having to change direction every quarter to make sure that we meet stakeholder or shareholder expectations. So, that in itself is pretty interesting, is why I was drawn to this company. Unlike just money grabbing, this is all about making a better health community for our members.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, what would you say is your biggest accomplishment while you have been working at HC? And I don't know if you said this, but how long have you been with HCSC, Blue Cross Blue Shield?
It'll be 14 years in January, so time goes by when you're having fun.
Congratulations.
Well, it's a journey, definitely. But one of the things I'm probably most proud of, I've been involved in a lot of very exciting projects that made quite a difference. But I would have to say the thing I'm proudest of is the work I've done with the workforce, especially in talent acquisition, talent, retention and management, growth and development. To me, that's really turns me on more than anything else. So I would say one of my favorite accomplishments would have to be that several senior directors now in this organization started out in my organization, basically doing all my work, for want of a better term. They came in as supervisors and managers, and, they get to the point where I certainly can't do anything more for them. And so they've gone on to really form some of the best leaders in the organization in IT. So I'm very proud of them.
Wow, that's awesome. And they kind of all started right under you.
A lot of them, a couple even came from the business. Some I got from other people. I think my favorite story would be one of the supervisors was already a star in another organization, but kind of hit their limit. And so over some adult beverages at a local establishment, her manager said to me, I'd always joke with him, I'm coming to get her. And he said, you're not touching her, leave her alone. She's mine. I need her. But then after a few libations came up to me and said, I really can't do anything more for her. You should actually take her in an organization. Now she's basically heading up IT QA. So it's really good. And again, I'm blessed by having such strong personalities to begin with, and people very eager to learn and succeed.
Absolutely. I love it. So tell me a little bit about your connection with Make Corporation. So you obviously know Karen Wilson, our CEO, very well. And tell me a little bit about just working with her, and what's your connection to her? How do you know her?
Sure. I bet Karen can't even tell when we first met, but it was this really small project. We were taking in 10 veteran hires and training them in IT. And Mike was one of the organizations who partnered with a training firm to actually head that up. while they didn't get that job, it went to another firm. We did strike up a little bit of a friendship, and then we worked extensively in getting some of our toughest positions. Meg has been very responsive to us over the years, and over that time, we discovered something interesting along the way. We really enjoyed each other's company. There was a great deal of respect I had for Karen, to the extent that one time I think I threw her off guard. I had like a little bit of not a career dilemma, but a couple of choices in a career. And I literally called and said, can we talk about this? And it was really weird for Karen, and especially since I paid for dinner. Vendors are so used to like paying for dinner. We just really enjoy. I have so much respect for Karen and the work she's done with Meg, both as an organization and her role with the Illinois Special Olympics. You meet people in life that you just know you're going to be friends. And, I obviously, Karen and Steve are really close friends of Mary and I, my wife, and we've continued that relationship. It goes far beyond business.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And sometimes those make the best relationships, when you just build that connection and then, you become almost lifelong friends. So I love that story. And you mentioned in there that you had a little bit of a career change, a career path. Tell me about that. I remember you mentioning that when we chatted about a week ago. You originally went to school to be an English teacher, correct?
I was a high school English teacher, in fact.
Sure.
I was at J. Sterling Morton West, which is in Berwyn, which is a suburb of Chicago. And I discovered something very early on in the teaching career, the fact that I didn't really like teaching high school students, which was a little disappointing to everyone since I got a job and I had really great relationship with the kids and my peer teachers, but it just wasn't satisfying. It didn't hit something in me.
Yeah.
So at night, I went to get another degree in computer science. Became a developer, worked for Chicago Title and Trust as a COBOL programmer, like many of us of a certain tenure, shall we say. But then very early on there, I realized that leadership and getting the best out of teams and talent and development was really drove me, which I guess is part of the teaching concept, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So every position I've been at, what's really got me impassioned and has driven me is the opportunity to actually find talent, take talent, grow talent, develop it, and then let it go. Let them go off and do good things. And to do that repeatedly, I think is really what a leader's responsibility is. So when I got to Karen, it was just kind of a little bit of a malaise or a valley in my personal and professional energy. And, Karen's a tough love person. She's telling me, she goes, hey, here's what I think, completely unvarnished. And she's absolutely right. And so, I took that advice and started working on things outside of work that started to drive me a little more.
Very awesome. That's such a cool story, and now look where you are today. It's just a great example to kind of just follow your gut and go with what you want to do. And now you're extremely happy, what you've chose to do, which is amazing. And it kind of just falls back on everything happens for a reason, right? So that's wonderful.
It does. I still feel, to be honest with you, like a work in progress. So I'm 58 years old, and it's kind of, when my kids are trying to find their way in the world, or when I see young college students come on in and they say, what's my path? I'm like, what? When I figure mine out, I'll help you with yours. But I think there are people who are never necessarily satisfied. They can be satisfied for a moment, and then it's another challenge. And I've set myself up with more than a few challenges lately. So
I love it. Well, you're definitely up for the challenge. And you mentioned, it's intriguing when you talk to college students and when they're just starting their career. So if you were to give yourself any advice, your 25-year-old self, maybe you're entering the workplace, what advice would you give your 25-year-old self?
Buy Apple. Apple stock, but again, I guess that's cheating. I'm a first generation college student, so my parents had no concept of what college was all about, and as a result, I was actually, and this is one of the things people don't realize, for most of my first undergraduate career, I was a terrible student. My grades were very mediocre. I had zero discipline, lazy as could be. So the advice I'd give my 25-year-old self is, but fortunately by 25, I kind of mellowed out a little bit, would be to stick with it and really don't ignore what drives you. Don't ignore what passion you feel for a job, for a sum of money or promotion. I see a lot of people that are miserably unhappy in very successful jobs because there's that part of them, that genuine self that they just can't satisfy. And to be honest with you, I make adjustments every time my genuine self feels just a little bit unsatisfied. And then when you lose that, I don't care how hard you work, I don't care how hard you try or how diligent you are, there was just something missing from performance. And so when I talk to 25-year-olds, and I wish I would have told myself this, don't ignore that. Okay, don't ignore that. Don't get into the chase of, ooh, I made $1,000 more than my friend Bob, or, ooh, look at the cool title. No, do what drives you, and then it's not going to be like work.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great advice. I think, I even think that might be great advice at any age, just something to really understand what gets you going, what motivates you, and what makes you wake up every day and gets you to work, So I love that advice. I think that's great. And I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned how you admire Karen for, just the person that she is, but also how she gives back to Special Olympics and her involvement in Special Olympics Illinois. So I wanted to ask you, were there any ways that you give back to the community, or is anything that you're currently involved in where you give back?
Well, I admire so much for Karen and her husband Steve and Meg for all that. I've been to many galas with them, and I really enjoy it. I can't wait to get back there. What it really showed me, this kind of selfishness, the selflessness. They go out there and do these things. For the longest time raising kids, I wanted to be a very active dad because mine wasn't. And so I vowed to myself that I was going to be the coach. I was going to be heavily involved, and I was. So years of coaching resulted in a horrific baseball player in my oldest son, a very good, solid baseball player in my middle guy, and an outstanding basketball player in my daughter. And so now that she's going off to college next year to play for Aurora University, I have time, a little more time at least, even with grad school. So I was sought out. We, like most people in a pandemic, had to cancel our intern program or greatly reduce it at HCFC, and that's one of our highlights and one of our great talent pipelines. So my CIO, Marv Richardson, gave me a call and said, hey, we're thinking of starting a nonprofit to, provide a virtual internship for college kids who lost theirs. And I thought, what a great idea. And so I was tabbed to be the curriculum director and partnered with some great firms. Udemy was nice enough to donate us licenses for online training. And we set up a bunch of speakers utilizing our network. And we had a very successful launch of drivingforward.org. We had well over 100 applicants. We ended up with about 70, 60 teams who actually did a case study on industry and how the pandemic affected it. And I got to tell you, by the end of that 8 weeks, those college students were doing presentations better than I've seen most of them, probably me too, as well as my peers. So it wasn't a one and done. And so now we're heading into our winter session, and it was the first time I've been on a startup, and it's the first time I've been truly involved in a nonprofit. And it was great to be a mentor. It was great to help determine the curriculum, and the people I'm working with are just passionate about what they're doing. And it's really become, a big organization now. We're actually becoming a legit entity, and I look forward to partnering with college and universities, not to mention providing talent pipelines for organizations like HCSC. Obviously, I'm selfish. I'm going to take the best and brightest. But other organizations who may want a talent pipeline can come to Driving Forward, whether through sponsorship, whether through just being involved with us. We'd love to find jobs for these kids because, as you know, it's a tough job market during this horrific 2020, which I can't say goodbye to fast enough.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. And you said it's called Driving Forward, correct? That's the name of the program?
Drivingforward.org. And it's an entirely voluntary, and we have some really passionate people, some really stellar mentors. And we're not only, unlike academia, we're not only teaching the facts and the nuts and bolts of these things, which we are still, but we're very, very willing to share our journeys, our individual journeys. Because I knew when I was making career change, and even when I started as a developer, I was like, do I really want to do this? I thought I was kind of a little bit of a freak. It's like, why can't I determine on a course of action and go forward? But then you realize we're all struggling with this on a day-to-day basis, even as life changes, whether, you end up significant other, spouse, kids, mortgage, everything. And we're expected to change along with that. But that genuine self is so important. I love the thought of giving these kids a good start and let them know it's okay to fail. It's okay to pick yourself up. It's okay to learn. It's okay to question even yourself. If it makes for a better and happier career for them, more the better.
I love it. I love it. That's great advice. And I think that's such an awesome opportunity, especially for those college students that did lose internships because of the pandemic, and just kind of an opportunity to get them back on their feet and let them know that, all right, we got your back, and we're going to get through it. So I love that. And I wish you all the best in that. I hear I'm sounding like it's going extremely well. So I'm excited for you. But you mentioned when you were talking about this, that you're also going back to grad school and you're also continuing your own education. So tell me a little bit about that.
My mom would have called me a professional student, but I'm not really paid to go to school, although there is tuition reimbursement. But like I said, I have degrees in English and secondary education, and then went to get my degree in computer science, and actually started in a master's in writing program that I abandoned because I got all, official and professional, and I had kids, and I said I better go for my MBA because that's what's expected of me, and got pretty well through it and realized I had no desire to complete it. That genuine self again, it wasn't me. Yeah. So I dropped out of the master's program with about 4 classes left and jumped back into the writing program, finished my degree in writing, my master's in writing, and then was even more fascinated with the whole communication process. And so I'm just about to wrap up. I got 2 classes left, a master's in interpersonal and organizational communications, which is just a blast. Putting theory to things and intuitively is just a lot of fun. And it's helping both in driving forward as well as my job at HCFC.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome. I love that. And I think it's cool that you're also helping individuals, kind of continue their education with these internships, but you're also doing it yourself, and you're finding ways to implement the things that you learn in both your driving forward and as well as HCSC. So that's amazing. And I commend you for keeping going. It's a difficult time, but it's something, to just continue your education and to continue to get out there and keep moving is extremely motivating. So I wanted to ask you a little bit, and I know when I had asked you to join this podcast, I was curious to know if you had listened to any podcasts yourself.
I am really weird with podcasts. So most people, all these great leadership podcasts they're listening to, and all these technical podcasts they're listening to, I listen to podcasts of comedians. Oh. And I by no means, I think I'm funny generally, but I can't be funny. So I really admire the work they go through. And you want to talk about talent management or looking at opportunities. Comedians have such a hard road to success that, number one, I find it, they're comedians, so their podcasts are inherently funny. But the industry they work in and the lessons they've learned and paths they've taken is fascinating to me as well. So I listen to Bert Kreischer is one. Michael Rosenbaum's not a comedian, but he talks to a lot of them. You might know him as Lex Luthor from Smallville. Tuesdays with Stories is probably the most politically incorrect podcast I listen to. It's just that id inside me that just loves the most inappropriate things, and it just cracked me up. But also they talk about the industry and their life. And so I have enough of IT. I'm interested in the other areas and taking what I can from their lessons and applying it to talent in general. Because no matter if you're in IT, no matter if you're a teacher, no matter if you're a comedian, whatever it is, you're navigating a lot of the same issues. And so I like to see other people's journeys.
Absolutely. I love it. And you have to add On the Mic with Make to your podcast.
There you go, obviously.
You joined, but you got to add it to it now. So that's...
If it isn't canceled after my interview instantly.
No, it won't be canceled. No, it won't be canceled. It won't be canceled. Well, Randy, I have really enjoyed having you on here, and I've really enjoyed getting to know you a little bit better, learning about your connection with Make Corporation, your connection with HCSC, and just everything that you have and what you're doing. As I kind of mentioned to you when we chatted on the phone last week, this is just an opportunity for for Make to get in front of people and just to build relationships and build connections. So I hope to stay in touch with you, and I'm excited for to post this podcast. And I'm just thank you so much for joining. I very much appreciate it. And
no problem. Make has been such a great partner over the years, and again, I could do zero business with Make, and Karen and I will still be lifelong friends. And so the opportunity also to speak about myself, who doesn't love that?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Thanks for listening, letting me plug Driving Forward, and I look to many more years of partnership and more good times ahead.
Absolutely. Thank you, Randy. All right, so that'll conclude our On the Mic with Make podcast with Randy. Thanks so much for joining. I hope everyone stays healthy and well, and here's to 2021.
Amen.
Yeah, talk soon.